Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Roso. I'm a graphic designer and career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. From career struggles and anxiety to feeling like nothing is ever going to work out, I'm here to explore all the messy stuff that breaks us down and builds us up. So join me as we transform ourselves and finally ditch the struggle. Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about money, but no stressing. No stressing because I am not a financial planner. I am not a financial guru. This is from a place of I've learned a few things and I'm going to share them. I've made lots of mistakes and have, like you, probably tried to figure things out. And because I spent some of my career being in underpaid jobs and feeling undervalued, the money part is tied in, right? So I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with money and mindset. And the reason I want to talk about this is in part because I did have an article published on addictedtosuccess.com recently. This is my third one with them. It's been a few years since I had published with them. And it's kind of a funny story. And I wrote about the story a few months ago and pitched it to them to publish. And it recently did get published. So I'm going to share that little story. Like the article is only about 1,000 words. So I'm going to flesh it out a little bit more because it is kind of funny and it is about mindset shift. And it's actually also about how you can hear one sentence and it totally changes your life and perspective and mindset. And that is what happened to me. But before I dive into the whole money part, for some of you, it may be interesting. If not, just skip over this section. But I thought I would just give a little bit of behind the scenes as to how to get an article published online, because it is that mini story is about perseverance and kind of taking risks and rejection. We all have to deal with rejection. But for those of you who are curious about how you get an article published online on a kind of blog website, you basically write something based on their guidelines. You can go to these blog websites and you can pitch it to them. You can email it to them and they will potentially publish it. You do not get paid. There are some paid opportunities out there, but for the most part, you do not get paid. It is for the exposure, for the giving you credibility on what you're talking about. It creates backlinks, which kind of help bring traffic potentially to your website. And I hadn't had an article published in a while since I started the podcast. So I thought that might be helpful to kind of help spread the word about the podcast. And I really got into publishing articles online, again, that 2020, 2021 era. And here's the thing, everyone was publishing online. Like it was considered the thing to do, especially if you were a coach. So I was like diving right into this because I really love writing. I'm very slow at it. It takes me a very long time, but I love writing, and that's another creative outlet for me. I have a blog that has kind of it's in the back seat now because a podcast is a priority, and I only have so much bandwidth, right? But I do love writing, and I had this story floating around my head, and I was like, I think Addicted to Success is the best platform for this. There's a few others I considered, but I tailored the piece for this website. And you have to write it according to their specs, a certain amount of words. You have to kind of hit certain beats that they like. There's a style, and this takes a lot of time and effort. So what I usually do is I write it, and then I have an amazing editor that edits any of my published pieces. I've been working with her for many years. She also does any ebook I have. Her name is Dakota Knight. I'll put her link below. And so Dakota went in and we go through multiple edits. So just to give you an idea of a 1,000 word piece. It was originally about 1,300. I have a longer version, but I had a short version created as well. In total, that was about 10 hours of my time for that small little thing. Now, someone could probably write that a lot faster. I'm slow, and that's just the way it is. The ideas usually flow out pretty quickly, but then I'm refining and refining. So anyway, I pitched this to Addicted to Success. I'm like feeling very confident they're going to take it and grab it and accept it. And a couple weeks go by and crickets. And generally, if you haven't heard in 2 weeks, you are considered rejected, that they didn't take it, and you can move on to someone else. So I was really bummed when I did this a few months ago, and I just couldn't really understand it. I was like, wow, I think I thought it was going to work. So then I pitch it, wait for it, to 7 other websites. And that was hard to do because most of the blogs and websites that take guest posts are no longer around. They have closed down in the last few years. I had a list of all of these websites that took guest posts, and they're mostly gone. Like there's the big ones, the Mind, Body, Green, Tiny Buddha, Addicted to Success is still up there. And there was a few others. And I was going lower and lower down the tier in terms of like what their visibility was. And my article did not get picked up. But here's the thing. So a few months go by and it's still in the back of my head. And I got on my laptop the other night, like for hours. You know, when you go down a rabbit hole and like you're doing a million things and researching a million things and then like buying an online t-shirt from Quince in between? You know what I mean? Like those nights? I don't know. I was up till like 12:30 and I was back on the Addicted to Success website and I was like, I just don't understand why this one would be good. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to change the title. I don't know if the title was good enough. And maybe I should have sent the shorter version, which I don't think I created until later on for another publication. So why don't I send a short version with a new title? Now, you are not supposed to really, I don't think so, resubmit the same article. Like I'm going to guess that's considered like a no-no. I don't know. But I was like, oh my God, is this going to make me look really unprofessional? But you know what I did? I decided to chance my arm. That's an Irish saying that I love. I was like, I'm going to chance my arm. I have a feeling, and really that's what it comes down to. My intuition was like, just change it, fix it a little bit, and resend it. So the title was originally One Simple Shift to Change Your Relationship with Money. And then I changed it to One Shift That Transforms Your Relationship with Money. Not much of a difference, but I thought the word transform would be better suited for their platform and speak to their readers. And I made it smaller. I didn't want to say one simple. I just made one shift. I kept it shorter, like just more condensed and to the point. And then I sent the shorter version. I just had this feeling, honestly. And I sent it at 10 o'clock in the morning. And by 6 o'clock that day, they had accepted it and published it. So I was very shocked. But the point of the story is not because you like, it doesn't matter if you don't want to write an article, whatever it is. It's like you sometimes do have to let time go by and revisit what you've done in order to get some perspective. And it wasn't until a few months had gone by, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is as strong as it could be. And then sometimes you just got to take a swing and see what happens and follow that intuition. There was like that part of me that stayed up till after midnight because I was kind of obsessed with figuring this out and finding a place for this piece because I had put time and energy into it. So I was like, it's got to make it to the world somehow. And anyway, it found its way. I'm very happy with the platform, like where it landed. And the story, though, let's get to the story. This was really driven by something my friend said to me. And she is a business owner and she goes through many ups and downs. And we were on a phone call once and she's, talking about business and how it's challenging. But she's like, you know what? Money comes and goes. And I don't know what it was about the way she said it. She was like kind of laissez-faire about it. She had this detachment to it. And I was like, yeah, money does come and go. Like there's an ebb and a flow to it. And here's the thing. If you don't have money, when you have it, you hang on so tight to it. You're just like paranoid you're going to lose it. And so please know that I'm not suggesting that you just go on like an online shopping spree. That's not what I'm saying at all. But the feeling you have when you have it, it's like if you feel you have to like hold on tight and you can never let it go, then you're creating more stress around money. And the energy around it is like a no bueno situation because it's really wrapped up in fear. And something about the way she said it, I was like, wow, I'm having a lot of fear around letting go of money, spending it. I mean, I would spend it and I wasn't, I would never consider myself frugal because actually I want to be smart with money, but being frugal was something I never wanted to be. Some people talk about it like they're very proud and they wear it like a badge of honor. To me, that is miserly energy. That is holding on to something too tight. That's like all fear. That's all fear. Like if you're like, I can't buy the chicken unless I have the coupon, which I have designed. We'll talk if you go back to the chicken sticker episode, then that's not the vibe I want. And I think we're figuring out I'm vibe driven. And so I want to be at peace with it. And that was part of the motivation for kind of going into this whole discovery of financial wellness, education. I've been doing it for years. I got really deep into it in 2023. I kind of did a whole deep dive, which I'll be breaking down in further episodes. But yeah, that money comes and goes. When she said that to me, it landed. And this was about 10 years ago. And it stuck with me. And what I really wanted to have, what was really motivational to me and what I aspired to be was the person who could be relaxed around money. So not uptight and not in fear mode that it was going to leave and never come back. And could just like spend with joy and just be at peace with how it went in and how it went out. Because it's going to leave. Like over Christmas, our fridge suddenly broke, like right before Christmas. There's nothing you can do about that. Like you have to go out and buy a new fridge. Well, we tried to repair it and then spent $400 doing that and realized, no, this is not going to work. We have to repair it because they don't make fridges like they did back in the day. So what am I going to do? Just like be mad and upset about having to spend more money on a new fridge? Well, no. First, I was exceptionally grateful I had the money to purchase a fridge. I was smart about it though. I bought a floor model. I went to the brick and I shopped the floor models, found one in my measurements, and it had a tiny dent on the side back where you couldn't see it. And I took that baby home. It's a great fridge. It's really, really big and it's great. So I was smart about it, but I was like, this has to happen. So it's like money will come and money has to go. It's going to go. And the more you relax you can be about it, I think the better relationship you have with money. So that's one big piece. And that also comes down to your nervous system. So I don't use that term in the article, but because it's short, it's a bit surface level. But yeah, you're trying to get your body to be okay with spending money, having money, like money coming in, money coming out. But the true acceptance that you can only be in so much control over money and how it's going to flow around you and flow in and out of your life. That is like a game changer. Now, the more you stay in a more positive mindset and the more you do educate yourself and do all the things, money, I do find, comes easier. Like you're not going to repel it. There is an energetic frequency to that. For anyone really struggling with under-earning, highly, highly recommend the classic book, Overcoming Under-Earning by Barbara Stanny. She's got, I think, courses and everything. I've read, I think, all of her books. There's a few other ones. But that classic, Overcoming Under-Earning, is amazing because when I read it years ago, the thing that really stood out to me was like, oh my gosh, there are people out there who have zero problems and zero challenges charging what they feel they are worth. Like it doesn't cross their mind that, oh, maybe I shouldn't charge that much. Like those people exist. And I thought, oh my gosh, if those people exist, I want to be like that. Again, I'm always thinking about what identity I want to step into. And that was something I really aspired to. So I aspired to be that kind of person. I aspired to be someone who was calm around money, who understood that money comes and goes. And just like, it takes time. It also takes a huge piece is getting out of any avoidant behavior you have. That can also be a topic for another episode. That was something I did when I was younger because it's a hot topic, but it's like so charged, right? There's so much, it's, connected to our literal survival, right? Because this is the world we live in. So money comes and goes. Massive shift for me. And my friend had no idea that had any impact on me because, again, she said it off the cuff. And so I finally sent her the article and I was like, so she's Tori in the article. That's not her real name. And I thought, Tori, like this, you actually said this to me. And she's like, oh my God, I had no idea. I said, yeah, that was cool. And which is another thing. You never know how one small thing you can say to someone can have such a positive effect on their life. And that's also part of my continued motivation for podcasting, because maybe one day I'll say something and just the way I say it, the time of the day I say it to you, you're going to be like, oh my God, timing is everything. And that was what happened when I submitted this article. Whoever was on the other line of the email was like, oh, this works. Like, the timing was there, right? So then this leads me to a real life money example where I was challenged with believing and really accepting that money comes and goes. And this was, again, more about the going part, like bye-bye money. So I was up north last summer with my friend, and we were doing some small town shopping in one of my favorite little towns. And one of the stores only accepts cash. So it's a cash-only store. We always go to it. It's actually a honey store. They make, obviously honey and all these honey products. And I love actually shopping at a cash-only store. I fully support that. Great. But I had totally forgotten to get cash before I went up north. So there's one bank machine in the town. So we ran to the bank machine. I didn't explain this in the story because it would have been too complicated, but there's two teller machines, ATMs, in one little bank machine, not a hut. What do you call those when you go into the room, the bank machines? Anyway. So we were catching up and chatting because we hadn't seen each other in a while. And they were these new, totally complicated machines. They were beeping and clanging, and I didn't even know where to put the card into, that kind of thing. So she did her transaction. I did my transaction. I take the card out, and then we go to the store. So we drive 5 minutes away, go to the store. I pick up all this stuff. We're big on consuming honey. It's so many health benefits. So I go to pay, and then I open my wallet, and there's nothing in it. Well, there was a $20 bill that I already had. The $200 that I had taken out from the bank machine to do some shopping around town was totally gone. And in that moment, I realized I had left the $200 at the bank machine, at the ATM. It clicked on me. I was like, I left it in the little drawer. It was probably beeping and screaming at me, but I didn't notice because so busy chatting with my friend. And I was like, okay, we got to go back. So she pays for my stuff. We take it. We go back to the ATM. Well, of course. What do you think? Of course it's not there, right? And I truly made a choice in that moment, truly consciously. I was like, I'm not going to forget about this. I'm going to stay calm. And if the money is lost and gone forever, I'm going to choose that it will somehow come back to me in a different way. I'm not going to necessarily find it on the street, the $200 just sitting there, but I'm going to potentially have to let this $200 go. And I'm not saying $200 is not a lot of money. I also was grateful in the moment that $200 was not going to make or break my day, my week, my year. So that's an amazing place to be in and to feel. And I really was conscious of that and acknowledged it. Huge fan of, the conscious gratitude. So we ended up doing our shopping for the day. And then when we got back to her place, I was like, okay, I had to call the bank and all that stuff. And it's this whole long thing. And you get a claim number, and they're like, if it's approved, I guess it'll show up in your account potentially 3 or 4 weeks later. I was like, okay. So I hung up the phone, not to say I wasn't a little bit rattled about the whole thing, but I was quite shocked at how fast I snapped out of it and how I was like, this is not going to ruin my day, not going to ruin my weekend. I was so excited to be away. And how I wasn't going to let it just tear me down and just make me sad and angry and frustrated and all those things. I was like, no. So did I get the money back in my bank account? Did I actually get the $200 back? I actually don't know. And that to me is kind of crazy to say because I am very organized with my finances for the most part, make mistakes or forget things most people. But, I will routinely go through my accounts just to make sure there's no shenanigans happening, especially with some of our billing providers. There's some Canadian companies that are just notorious for just randomly charging you stuff. So I don't know if the money came back. And to this day, I actually never checked. And the reason I didn't check is not because I didn't care about the money or value it. is because I decided to choose flow. And flow for me is the opposite of struggle. And this is what I aspire to. Like, that is my general word that I want to be in. And not freaking out or worrying about whether the money made it back in was, for me, in this particular situation, choosing flow. Because it was like letting the chips fall where they may. It was not being attached to it. It was choosing to believe it happened for a reason and it will be fine. Maybe someone got that $200 and it made their day, and like their faith in humanity or the banking system has been restored. Something could have great happened. Maybe they did something amazing with that $200. But I had the choice as to how I was going to handle this and what I was going to do in my head mentally, like what I could control mentally. What was my mindset going to be? And because I had been doing so much work on trying to be more at peace with money and how it comes and goes and the flow of it, I thought, this is like the perfect little test for me. And I feel at the time I noticed it like that. I recognized it as a little test, like to see how I was going to handle it. Was I going to freak out? Was I not going to freak out? And then, so my friend who is Krista in the little story, I sent it to her and I was like, this was about that time I left the money in the bank machine. And she's like, oh my gosh, you were staying like so calm. You were like so calm during this whole thing. And I was like, yeah, I was kind of calm, but on the inside, don't get me wrong, I was kind of like it's just an awful feeling of like just leaving something, or it's like you leave the stove on, or just that like sinking feeling in your stomach. And there was probably a few minutes where I thought I was being irresponsible, that I was like, the judgment comes up, the beratement comes up. How could you be so stupid? Like that, like thing. But the way I was able to kind of pivot out of it, I was like, okay, I feel like I've made some progress. And like, what would have been the benefit of freaking out over it and like having a fit, like, like just like a tantrum over it? Like, what really would it have done? It's perspective too, because it was like $200. It wasn't $2,000. That might have been a little bit different situation, but in that, if it was $2,000, would I have been able to stay as calm? I mean, I think that would have been, I don't want that test, universe, so please don't send it my way. But I almost feel like I could handle it. I do, because being calm when you're working with money, dealing with money, any kind of transaction, like I had to go into the bank today and do this whole appointment because I was changing things up with my business stuff, my business accounts. And it was like, I just was like, we're just chilling. We're just going to like not stress about this at all. It's not going to help the situation. And I think that's when you're making huge progress when it comes to struggle, when you can chill out a little bit more. I mean, my friend always jokes that when she logs into her CRA account, which is like the Canada Revenue Agency, the Canadian equivalent of the IRS, that she's like being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, and then like her nervous system freaks out that much. So if you can get past that, if you can get to the point where you can log into your CRA account and be kind of chill about it, you've won the money struggle. Like that's it. That's it. Because so many of these institutions, organizations, they're like, they can be stressful to deal with, and we're programmed to believe that we should be stressed about them all the time. Not to say that you don't take it very seriously. So finances obviously need to be like given lots of attention, some energy, and managed well. And the education piece is just huge. We learn nothing in school, like nothing in school about finance unless you go to finance, and even like a finance school. And even so, you're learning certain systems that are not necessarily applicable in all situations. So this was my little story about losing $200, not knowing whether I got it back, and realizing that that was actually a good thing because it meant I had shifted my money mindset and I was more in a state of flow. And I feel good about that. So I will link the article below to share with anyone who is trying to make a mindset shift. It's I think a fun little story. And there's a couple more little pieces in there as well. To kind of make those shifts. And hopefully, maybe there's a sentence in here that resonates with you, like when my friend told me that money comes and goes, and that kind of changed things for me it's still affecting me in a really positive way, and I'm super grateful. So this is why we need to keep having conversations and chatting with our friends and venting and going over all the things. and try to make sense of all of this crazy stuff we are dealing with every single day. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. Be sure to follow this podcast, visit alanaroso.com, and of course, share it so we can build each other up. And before I go, remember to be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.